Tom Green.
Rocken Locken with Canadian Express Productions. DeAnn McRann, DeAnn from Alberta, another Canadian Starseed. Just like my co-host Raquel Toombs from over in Vancouver, BC. This girl is from 5 miles north of Edmonton. And Edmonton is like Canada's largest northern city, period. And wow, it must get really cold up there in that part of Alberta. DeAnn McRann, DeAnn. It's a pleasure to have you on, by the way. I always love having Canadians on my show. It's exciting.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, like, tell me about, like, what I basically, you know, I started the show to talk to Starseeds about their experiences. And before the show, you were telling me a little bit about, like, just something happened to you as a little girl. And why don't you go ahead and, like, tell me a little bit about that, and then we'll get into what, like, it's like to live in Alberta and all that. But I want to hear what I paused you from saying before.
Great. So, well, I don't know. I just came here. I'm just here today because I know that I'm just a weirdo like the rest of us, and, you know, just misplaced. But since I was a little girl, I knew something was off about myself. There was this one day, I just happened to be in the front yard of where I grew up in my little northern town at the time. And it was almost like I was just planted there. Like, prior to that moment, I don't remember a thing. All I know is that I was there. I awoke, and then here I am today. But since then, I've experienced so many weird things in my life, and it was almost like I'm immune to this stuff.
Like what though? Like what kind? Like what did it start off with?
Well, it started out with, I saw apparitions. Okay, as a little girl, I've seen like things that I couldn't explain. They're just ghosts, people. But then after that, it just basically followed me around. Like, it wasn't just ghosts. After that one episode of seeing this ghostly lady that I had in my backyard, I haven't seen her since. But I mean, further on in my
shadow people, maybe.
No, this girl was like you and I. She was sitting on a 10-speed bike. It was crazy because she, like, the whole atmosphere changes in the backyard. And it's like every time I experience an episode like this of something supernatural-ish, the whole environment would change. It was quiet. It was just, you'd have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah, and how long did this go on that you noticed? I mean, how long was this something that kind of, because I know you probably went through phases of different things that would happen to you. How long would this happen? Like, does it still happen today? Would it still happen? I mean, did this happen for a few years of your life?
No, it was basically just a hit and miss kind of a thing, you know. It just came and it went one day, and then after that, it was just like I see things like, okay, where I grew up, it was an old war. It's called Anzac. This place is called Anzac, and it actually comes down to I can't think of what the Anzac stands for. It's an actual ANZAC. You'd have to look that one up. And there was war, and yeah, it was just like not a nice place to live at one point. And people were, you know, being killed over here because of the war. So I'm figuring this has a lot to do with it, you know, spirit hangouts. And where I grew up, it was a really old part of town. So that's where a lot of these things would happen. Now, later on in life, I didn't see anything in the skies because I was more like focused on the spirit world. I played with Ouija boards and I didn't realize at the time what I was doing. But I, mind you, don't touch them anymore because they're pretty creepy things to play with.
Yeah, like toys. Like how? Because like my only experience with the Ouija board was I was over at a friend's house as a teenager, and he said, "Here, try this with me for a second." And then he started fucking around and moving his, you know, obviously moving his own hands, and I said, "Dude, whatever." but that's my only experience. I mean, what really? I know some people are really creeped out by them. Why is that? Give me, what has been your bad experience with them?
Well, I found out who okay, when you're born with an angel. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those days of angels. I was born on a Sunday. So my angel turned out to be Archangel Michael, which is awesome. Um, but I didn't know any of this until way later in my life because I was 15 years old playing with this Ouija board. And I had asked questions, and you can you can tell. Like some people are pretty tricky with their fingers, but me and this one girl at the time, we were pretty open all the time. All my friends were open, and so just you know when things are happening, when things are gonna go down, you just know you feel it. I've been blessed with this whole empathy thing, and I attract weirdos, which I love. I love the most. But it's
That's
it's like I couldn't live without them. I love the weirdos, and
a Northern Canadian that loves the weirdos.
yeah. Just don't go look crazy. The weirdos are cool, hippie style. I've always been a wondering all the time. What's this? What's that? I've always been a strange child, always. But the Ouija board experience at 15, that was the last time I touched a Ouija board. It's what do you call it? It would be like a gateway. And you close that gateway because, yeah, there's not pretty things that will come out of that thing. So when people tell you, talk to you about Ouija boards and stuff, yeah, it's best that you just stay away.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my advice. I mean, you know what? It's not like that I'm like really like all tripped out by him, but then again, my thought on it is don't go looking for trouble either. Really, they were invented in the 60s as like a family, like party, neighborhood, home game, and then the the original movie, The Exorcist, really like put it fucked with it in people's heads about it in the early 70s and put it into their minds. It really is. You can let your mind go and
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, things like that. I mean, if you go looking for that kind of shit, you're gonna, just like with channeling and not knowing what you're doing, you're gonna, it's not, you gotta be careful.
exactly. Exactly. Like even trying to open your third eye. Yeah, you better be careful what you're wishing for there. But I
Oh,
mean,
I'll tell you, you know what I mean? I paid a hell of a price for having mine open, girl.
oh, I bet. I bet. I mean, I think I've been open since I was a child, since that day in my front yard where I just appeared. I didn't just appear, but I think spiritually I did at that moment. I was
Yeah,
before kindergarten, that's for sure. And then since then, it's just been like I'm a pagan. I wasn't baptized as a child, which I'm grateful for because, I mean, thank God. I mean, my parents gave me the choice to choose who I wanted to be. Well, I chose in the pagan way, and that is where I feel comfortable, you know? I
yeah,
don't feel like there's any group religion, like,
yeah.
oh, praise the Lord. I mean, God, I don't disrespect anybody who believes in religion. I love everybody the same. I've heard many cab driver once ask me, like you talk to a cab driver. You're going to the airport and he's asking you what's your religion. Wow. Or what you asked for because well this guy was ready to kick me out, thought I was a devil worshiper.
I would,
Yeah.
yeah, I would not like the answer to ask that question. I would say why. First of all, I would ask him why. And,
Yeah,
and I would say, then I would tell him politely that yes, I do have a religion, and it is the only one true religion. And our motto is that it's nice to be nice. That's what I'd tell him.
right,
Yeah, that's
right.
what I'd straight up tell him. So I don't know. I don't blame people. Yes, as long. See, I think it's wonderful that everybody can have their own religion. It's people that shove it down your face and on TV, and in America, in North America, probably Canada too, a little bit. We still got a lot of that shit on TV, the 700 Club, and I mean, people in Europe can't believe it that we still have it. But these people, the Revival Hour, and fuck, man, I mean, and it's really, but it's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
It is. And here they're asking for all kinds of money for the church. Okay, I agree with, I agree to some point, you know, to the, for the donating to the church, because I mean, they do have super.
Free in America.
But I'm talking about like feeding, helping the poor, less fortunate, you know, like if your church is going to put it to that use, fine, but don't sit there and say you're going to buy new windows or la-di-da, whatever they're going to put into the walls of the church. I don't believe in that, because to me right there is, you're not doing God's work. There, I don't even know who God is. If there is a God, I know there's a creator.
There's a universe. There is a universe, and if there is a God, I'm a creator of the universe. It's way beyond anything of this little rock of a planet could possibly have any knowledge of. It's way beyond, way, 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 way beyond anything that the Beatles and Pink Floyd together on LSD could ever come up with. It's way, way beyond that. But yeah, they still, and you know what? The funny thing is they don't even try to hide it anymore. They're telling you this shit, like, instead of like bullshitting you that they need this money for food to support hungry families and children. Now they're like, fuck, you know, they're talking about like this one guy needed a new jet. That he needed a new jet to go travel and do the Lord's work, and they need to have the church re-fucking varnished, and you know, and just all this shit. Go on a cruise ship, doing the Lord's work on a cruise ship. You know, yeah. Hey, yeah, I'll take the duty out in the jungle doing that mission. Why don't you go ahead and do the cruise? That'll be
that's amazing. That is amazing work in itself. They're gonna just sit there and say that.
They're trying to sell shit like fucking buckets of food and people, you know, to survive on in case there's a fucking, in case these people are like all pro-Trump, and Trump is in power, mind you, and they're all, they're trying to get in, and people, God will come to earth if they do anything to Trump, if Trump is impeached or if he's charged. God will come to earth, and you can buy these big buckets of food they show, and they said not only can you use them for food, but you can use them for waste if you need. And this fucking religious show is saying this shit. This guy, Jim Baker, he's been around forever. He went to prison for a while for fraud, but you know, him and this guy Pat Robert, they're still on TV and the video. You know, they are of the thought that playing video games are sins and shit, and you know, I mean, it's still, you wouldn't think it was 2018, but you know.
I was just having a conversation about how how we're the last generation to see of like the Dark Ages, basically. So our parents, my mother has told me stories about how she grew up. My dad was raised on a farm, and he was a farmer's kid. Now, they didn't have TV, they didn't have electronics, they didn't have any of the stuff we have right now that we're talking to each other on. And
that sucks. And anyway, go ahead.
And so how when we were born, I was born in 1974, so I guess I was ending the Dark Ages, I guess.
75, yeah, we're kind of in that era that saw a little bit both. We got one foot in the hippie era and one foot in the kind of younger, earlier millennials generation. You know?
No, you wouldn't call us millennials.
Not millennials. Our kids are. I meant we got one foot in kind of GX and one foot in kind of that hippie generation. We're kind of between these real 90s hip hop kids and the like baby boomers. It's
Nah,
the way I
yeah.
do it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we are pretty blessed to be, you
Well,
know,
no, I know that.
we're the last of the generations of reality. Now we become technology and robots. But you know, it's been a calling. It's been a long time coming.
I know what you meant. Hold on. That was my fault. Like, for instance, like we're the last, and I talk about this with my friends all the time. We're the last generation you and I are both part of without the internet in like our schools. Like the internet was not even available till a year after I was out of high school, and it was like a very, the very primitive by the hour dial up, and probably wasn't even available up there. So I mean, we didn't have it. I mean, the biggest technology like we had was VCRs, yeah, and a Nintendo maybe, but I mean, we didn't. I mean, you know what I mean? There was no. The internet changed everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And when they talk about the zombie apocalypse, yep, all the memes on Facebook say it all. That's just
Well, they
technology.
do. We got to we got to stay strong though, and just kind of bat them away if we can. Because think about this though, a lot of people wouldn't have friends hooked up, wouldn't have met. I just wish this. I wish Facebook had a competitor. What I mean by that is, I understand they got Twitter and Instagram and that shit, but none of those other outlets have a format like with groups in it, like Facebook does. And Facebook's not very cooperative with those other sites. But besides all that, I knew that when MySpace went out and Facebook took it over, basically in 12, 13 years ago now, that it'd be really hard to ever try to outdo them. But it seems to me like somebody should, or I don't know, you know what I mean? There's a lot of zombies on Facebook anymore. But then again, I can't blame it because of all the great people I've met on there.
Yes. Yes. I mean, yes, you can knock a lot of it, but then yeah, there's a lot of like pros about it, you know?
Yeah, I met the love of my life on there, yet I hate the motherfucking place because
Yeah.
people on there don't list. I just, it just, sometimes the energy of it, I have to get off of it for a couple of weeks. But it's like now I really can't as much anymore because I got to try to post shit and use it. But it's the same kind of, they need another kind of a format,
Yeah.
a competitor. I don't mean fucking, like I said, I'll just reiterate real quick without ranting. I'm not talking about Instagram or Twitter or any of the other ones. They need like one that's like it, but like a Twitter with groups where you're not limited to characters, like something like that. I don't know, an Instagram with groups. They don't have, they really kind of do have a monopoly on it, but I mean, that's the way that it goes. So it's just going to take somebody to, and I don't know why somebody hasn't. I don't know why one of those little sites aren't like it a little bit. Nobody
Well,
seems
that's
to.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, go
since
ahead.
you're bringing it up, why don't you think of a way to do it? You seem very tech savvy.
No, I'm not really though. I have good ideas, but I don't have. I'm not the man to put them in motion.
Okay, okay.
You know what I mean? Seriously, I do
You're the
have
brains. You'd be the brains.
a little bit of an idea of a thought of how it's just logical thinking, but yet I don't have the technical mind to think of exactly how that would go. It would seem to me that it could just be like a software thing or a program thing, or maybe there's a fucking, I don't know. Facebook was thinking about, didn't, I think Facebook bought Instagram or they were thinking about it. I don't know. I heard the guy who owns this thing, Zuckerberg, he had to testify in front of our Senate and shit. And the questions they asked him were ridiculous. These were 80-year-old people that knew nothing about it anyway. It'd be like your great grandparents interviewing him about it. Yeah, I mean, so first of all, but he tried to play it off like they all run together and it's all good. But I don't think he's really made it clear that he doesn't want a competitor. out there. That's because I can't understand if that's not the case, why Twitter or Instagram or somebody else, or if he owns Instagram, somebody else hasn't come along and come up with groups and a time. Everybody's got a timeline, everybody's got groups, maybe some other different features that I'm not thinking of. But I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? I've been thinking that for a while. And then the other day I caught on the news just for a second, somebody had said that there really is no competitor for Facebook, and how Twitter sucks with the limited characters. And it just, I don't know. Isn't it kind of weird? Don't you think it's weird that there isn't any other thing that has like.
That's funny. It's funny that you would say that because you're right. I never thought of it until just as you spoke about it. That is just like he took over the world, basically, this guy. And no one there is trying to take him out.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, he went before our Senate and our Congress, and some of them asked him some tough questions. But he's a fucking got a high IQ, and and knows it was just a publicity thing. And most of the people that asked him these questions were 185 years old and had no idea about it, and were giving him shit over things that were nothing. Like one guy was like, this user agreement, and I know it's not just to help the people out, it's to cover yourself legally. You know that, Mr. Zuckerberg. Well, like that, like really, that's what you're gonna get him on? No, like no fucking shit. Even the biggest, nicest corporation, charity in the world would have a disclaimer like that. I mean, so really, and people are just like, can I take my stuff off Facebook and put it on other places? He's all, Senator, yeah, you already have the right to do that. But I don't know. Facebook doesn't make it easy to do it. And who would really want to? Because Facebook is the only place you can go and have groups and timelines and really post shit to more than one place. If you're on Twitter, you can post something to a few people or tweet it here and there, but or Instagram, but you can't really, it's just really crazy. And
But if you put it on Instagram and on Twitter, you can you have the option of sharing that with Facebook as well, don't you?
Yeah. No, yeah, you do. I don't think you can do it anymore from Twitter to Facebook. So,
Okay.
but my point is yeah, you can still do that and do all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, it'd be nice, just kind of
Right.
saying it'd be nice if one of those places or some other place that would come along out of nowhere magically would be more like, I don't want to say more like Facebook because that's kind of, but like have like fucking groups and shit.
Yeah,
And
I know what you mean there.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird, and none of the other ones have anything even close to it. It seems.
No, not at all. Interesting. Divine plan, I think. Yep.
Well, yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I figured he'd have a monopoly on it. There was one. There was MySpace. They were the original. He came in and took them out because he had a couple things that were a little bit better that MySpace hadn't quite figured out yet, and he copied MySpace and figured out that, okay, well, if I do, he tweaked a few things. And I realized that once he did that, I realized even back then in 2006 or whenever the hell this was, that he was going to, that as long as he kept up with, even barely, as long as he kept up with changes here and there that he needed to, that I couldn't see how anybody could fuck with him and compete with him ever in the next, it'd take 20 years. Like it was, that's what I thought. And still, I was right, but yet, even though now that I know that I'm right about it, it's still at this point, it's like I can't figure. Now I really, back then I would have been like, duh, of course nobody would. But now I don't know why anybody hasn't. Maybe it's coming. You know what I mean? Maybe it's and I think so. I can't see by the early 20s something being a little bit more like that.
Well, I guess that's just beyond me, because when it comes to technology, for me, it's okay. Facebook, cool. I meet some awesome people, but I don't know how it works. Like, I've watched the movie. That's probably as far as I go with learning about how things are done in the real world. But I I just use it. I use it, for me, it's just like it's not like a lot of people, they get deep, but it's all facts of people asking real questions. Now, I would never have thought, because I keep to myself all the time as well, right? So for me to be questioning, oh, another Facebook, but not Facebook, something better. Like, I see where you're headed with that, because I mean, there has to be something, somebody has to come in and intervene with the whole Facebook.
Well,
But
right, and even that, I think you touched on something there too. Is that inevitably somebody's got to come along with something that would be more advanced, even. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Or or they really step up their game at Facebook, or they'll be made to by this other competitor. But yet we just don't know what that is. It's
right.
coming eventually. I mean, it's just how the shit works. I mean, he may have a monopoly on it for a long time, like I said, the 20 years, but eventually somebody's going to come up with something that's going to be there. They'll be real smart, probably a millennial. This will click, that'll click, and this will click, and but they'll put it together, and it'll probably take off like wildfire.
Well, yeah, because somebody's got to be smarter than Zuckerberg. Because look, they making sex dolls. You can buy a companion. That's a computer. So that's pretty smart.
I don't know about that. I don't know. He invented the shit when he was in college. I don't know if he's got connections. He's obviously probably from a wealthy family. Obviously, he doesn't. Even if he had some like integrity to him, he really doesn't have a lot of fuck. He don't have a lot of life experience. He's very, very IQ smart and like that. And I think that he just doesn't give a fuck enough to also be really like over his company. And now that it's gotten so goddamn big, I don't think he gets involved enough to see what's going on. I mean, I'm pretending the fact that he would give a fuck at all, which he don't. He's wealthy and he just wants to give a fuck in the public eye, but behind the scenes he could give a fuck less. Bring on the Don Perignon.
Right. But listen, didn't he not start this up with some school schoolmates, some buddies?
Yeah, like some dorm buddy or some. That sounds about right. It was in it. Yeah, it was in a dorm in 2004, and he started up with some buddies. I don't know who those buddies are. They could be. I don't. I have no idea. That sounds plausible. He was helping the buddies. Who they are, I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be known. Maybe they're still involved in the company high up, and they don't want to be. They don't want to be known too much. Just like with Microsoft, of course, it isn't just Bill Gates. Paul Allen is also the co-creator, and with Steve Jobs and Apple, it was Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. So both those companies had a team. One was the real geeky guy that was quiet. They didn't want really any but notoriety, and really probably was the brains behind it. And then you had like Bill Gates and Jobs that were the ones that were wanted to be out there in the public eye and shit like that. So it could, yeah, it could be that it could be that. I don't have any idea. I mean, he's Facebook is what it is. Do you think that Facebook has ever shown any weird things in the sky over northern Alberta?
As one, I don't know, but there has been sightings. I mean, I've seen them.
Tell,
I've
tell,
seen.
tell me about a couple of them. Like what? Like the ship? Tell me like about a couple of these things.
Honestly, I never really saw a ship. I know there were. I was driving one night. I was coming back from a place. Where was I coming from? I was coming from Edmonton, but I took this back road again because I like the back roads. They're so much nicer. And so I'm driving. It's on 881, and this is south of Fort McMurray. So I'm driving,
Less
and
RCMP too, I bet.
yes, you don't see our CMP around here. The only time you see them is when they're bored, I think. But anyway, besides the point. So I'm driving, and this song just happens to come on my my radio, my stereo in my car, and I'm cruising, and all of a sudden I seen these like bright blue lights. Like they weren't blinding. They were very like it's a pretty blue. And it just spun around in a circle. And then it was gone. But that's all I saw. But I wasn't sure. Maybe I'm just hallucinating because yeah, I was driving a long time and I just so happened to see this light just spin around. It looked like a ship. And then it was just gone.
Did it go like a circle? Did it? Oh, that's weird. The first sighting I ever had was like a blue, and it was years before I had any of my sightings. Like it was when I was like 21. It was like a blue thing, this a lot neon electric blue kind of.
Yes. Very pretty blue. Like it was not blinding. It didn't hurt the eyes.
Yeah, I
But
saw one years before I awoke, and then I always talked about for years about my waking. God, I'd never seen anything, and that was the only thing I ever saw. And then when it's like 10 years later when I had my awakening, and I did all the other shit I saw, but that blue thing you're talking about, yeah, that's cool. And it's just things like that. Have you seen anything like in the clouds or anything trippy like that?
it was right above the tree line. It was just, I was so, I was so overjoyed when I saw this, Larry. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I saw you. I saw you. And then I was just happy for the rest of the trip home. And I haven't seen it since. But every other time, like over Fort McMurray, I've seen mostly it was orange lights. And
Yeah.
there were just lights in the sky. And it was, wow. I was having a cigarette outside of my workplace when I was working at the liquor store. And my manager, he's pretty up there too. He's a cool guy. And we were standing out there and having a conversation. We just both happened to look up at the same time. And above the hill and the river where we were standing, this light just appeared. And it just got so bright. It was almost like it was a laser light, but it spread out and it faded away and it took off. It was like, you saw that, right? Like, I was so happy that somebody witnessed that with me. I've experienced from aliens to angels to ghosts to what next?
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah, go there, but that blue thing, I only saw it once too, and I never saw it again. Like after my awakening, when I saw a bunch of ships and shit. But yeah, go on to talk about what your experiences have been with ETs, or what you would call angels, extraterrestrials, things not of this dimension or world.
I've had so many to even say in one. That's for like we'd have to make different episodes for Angel Night, Angel Power Hour, and
Yeah, for sure, sure.
then the ET night, and then Ouija boards. Oh my gosh, there's just so many creepy things that I've made happen. I
Yeah,
think it's hard to explain who I am. It's like I'm so open to things. When it comes to ghosts, okay, so I stopped watching. I scared myself so bad because my daughter was involved in this one. I was going to school, I was going to college, and we were staying in this townhouse. And so I used to watch those shows on TV where they go ghost hunting and like old castles. I don't know if you remember this lady. I can't remember the name of the show, but she's a blonde lady, English lady, and I loved her shows. And they would go to castles and whatnot. They do seances. Well, a friend of mine had mentioned to me prior to this, like maybe a year or two before, he was like, I don't bring that into my house because it just attracts it. If you have it on your TV, which kind of made sense to me later on. And now this night, my daughter and I, she was probably 8 years old, and she's, on pill bottles, how they have that child-proof caps. And when you turn it, it makes the cracking noises because it's locked, right? Well, the entire night, this thing would not stop. We had just watched the show of the castles, and there was a seance. So what I think happened was it brought it into my living room. It attracted it because they're asking questions now to the other side through the seance, and it's coming to my living room. Now, anytime I'd go, because this bottle was in the kitchen and in a cupboard, because my daughter's little and I want to get her hands on it. So yeah, this continued on. This cracking noises, trying to open the bottle, whatever it was. But that entire time in that unit, it was weird things were happening. But I think like I'm sensitive, so the spirits or whatnot is like comes to me. Like every dream that I do have is of alien. I'm like being there's aliens, UFOs coming up from like in the sky, and they're landing on the ground by my house. But like I wake up and I'm at home. I wake up with bruises. That's the weirdest thing. The bruises on my legs, and I had remember when we last spoke, and I was at my father's place in the prairies. Well, I'd
Yeah.
waken up that evening or the next morning, and I had like bruises on my legs on each thigh, one on the outside of my thighs, three triangles, like three finger marks making two triangles. Sorry, one on each leg. What the heck does that mean?
Oh, that was bizarre.
Right? And I don't bruise easy. Well, I kind of do, but at my age, I guess I should. But that was bizarre. Like triangles. I'm jumping from one subject to the next because it's so exciting and it's just so crazy that.
Well, that's what we do here on the PEP. We don't exist in time. The only thing I stress about is the first 20 seconds of introducing somebody and then, saying my name right. And after that, fuck, man, it's open flow. So, yeah, that is kind of bizarre. That's, well, Canada's a hotbed for UFO sightings. Well, I mean, I say that everywhere is really, but man, I know the Pleiadians got a special place in their heart for Canada. I know, and I know the reptilians like Canada a little bit too, but Canada's got a lot of extraterrestrial influence.
What is your take on this blood type? And
Nothing.
sorry,
What blood type? You mean like
O negative or with the RH factor?
I don't know. I mean, we were seeded here by different human races. And people have bred and interbred. I don't know enough about it to jump to thinking that it's some kind of a different kind of a bloodline, because I think that you could find that there are differences in different. Sure, that is definitely something to look at, and then there are things in other people too that show that doesn't quite wash with other things. So it could just be the extraterrestrial race that they are seeded from, or whatever. I mean, that's just kind of my thought on it.
Well, that's a lot of like that would be something you need to research really because I mean I'm RH. I have I'm RH O negative with the RH factor, which means basically I don't have the rhesus monkey blood. So right? So O negative, I cannot take blood from anybody but my own type, but I can give to anybody.
Right.
Now,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
so but to do I need to do my research on that because apparently we were supposed to be some sort of a slave. I don't know for a fact, but I read a lot, but I haven't read a lot of these articles because it's kind of like I'm all over the place anyway.
No, that's
Love.
okay. I've never heard that though. I'll look into it too. I've never heard some kind of a slave race like from the Anunnaki. Okay, like from the Anunnaki. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, that's very. No, that's not all over the place. It's very possible. the Anunnaki genetically manipulated a lot of people. Then they did create a slave race here. They created it, and probably some people still have a little bit of that bloodline in them. And it's not a racial thing. It's every color thing, because that may have that. I don't know, unless it's just, I don't know if it's just white people that are prone to having that kind of blood type. But whether it's that or something else, there is definitely a genetic manipulation that was done to us by them. After we had a real big upgrade, like our DNA strands have been upgraded by the Pleiadians. A lot of us it's complicated because a lot of the slaves were created were like cavemen type. A lot of them, though, were like also enlightened human types that had Pleiadian genes running through them and had those infused light codes within them. As the Anunnaki was separating our strands in our brain, separating our two strands. It's been such a long time since I've talked about any of that stuff, but that I'm forgetting a lot of the terminology. But the Anunnaki used this for a slave race for gold. What they needed gold for, I'm not sure if they used it for a vitamin or they needed it for atmosphere on their planet, or their traveling ship, whatever it might have been, but they created it's basically a fight between two brothers, Enlil and Enki, and they created a human race. They created a human race to mine gold, and yeah, there's a lot going through. I could say a lot about it. Yeah, I mean, I've studied a lot about the Anunnaki. Zacharias said you'd want to listen to first, but I do it on audio because he's very boring. He's boring to read.
Okay.
But yes, of course. And then there's been other star races that have been involved in our DNA, and there's a lot of people and races on this earth that are seeded from other, humans from other planets. Eventually, everybody is, no matter what kind of what race you are, or what what type of a human being in the past you were, a caveman, whatever. Every human being was seeded here, and it's only logical to believe that. Why would there's no other possibility of it just be in this one, that unless you want to believe in that it's just this one planet, like some biblical people do. There's nothing else out there. This is it. This is the only thing where humans are, and God just put them here one day. Or you could believe that like a little molecule turned into a human after so many billion years. But really, of course, we were seeded here by ancient aliens and things of that nature.
Well, everything that we carry in our bodies come from space, come from the stars. So
Mars has got we got a lot of shit with Mars. I think a lot of us remember like a nuclear war on Mars, and a lot of us remember one here, and it's deep in our Akash. And you look at our solar system, besides Mars and all the planets, right, are supposedly uninhabitable, but they really might be. It might be a fucking graveyard. It might have been the result of a big cosmic war in this galaxy, but I don't believe it completely. I believe there's like 100 billion Earth-like, 100 like trillions of Earth-like planets right around, just out of our sight where we can see them. And that's just in our little galaxy alone.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy and wild to think? But really, when you think about it, I mean, the odds of it not being true are very slim because of how many stars there are and how many star systems and habitable planets that are habitable for life that are within that human range.
I
Right?
don't believe we're not the only ones. There's no way we're the only ones.
No.
And there's no. After
Yeah.
everything I've experienced so far in my 44 years of life, there's no way we are alone.
There's no way at all. Either that or the whole sky that we see is an illusion, complete fake illusion all the time, even at night during the sky. I mean, it's so ridiculous to even believe. Yeah, but yet it's weird too because all the extraterrestrial stuff also, the military will mimic that and like do holographs and shit like that too. So you never really know, but people need to understand one thing: extraterrestrials are out there; they're everywhere, and also your military is doing shit that's 500 years ahead of what they claim to be doing. So people need to just understand. I mean, people need to be outraged one way or the other at some point. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's just kind of the way it goes. So anyway, like your ET experiences up there, were they all positive pretty much just in general?
I'm sorry?
Your ET experiences way up there, 5 hours north of Edmonton, were they positive?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say they were. There was nothing negative about any of it, other than weather, like the weather differences during the time that I did notice these things happening. There was one year we had a huge winds and lightning, crazy lightning, no thunder and no rain, just crazy winds and crazy lightning. And for us to experience something like that over here is not really, I'm not going to say it's rare because I mean, it's windy, but this was crazy. I've never witnessed it. Was almost like tornado winds, but absolutely no thunder, just lightning was amazing show. But that summer was a summer where there was all these orange lights were spotted in the sky all the way through that summer. So that was probably a year before we had evacuated Fort McMurray for the fire. Well, yeah, about a year or two.
When
And
when was that? Refresh me. When was that about?
okay, so that was probably 2016 we were evacuated. So 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, about 2014. It really started to act up. You could see a lot of stuff. My brother was constantly calling me, DeAnn, you see this? You got to see this. He's crazy about this stuff too. Like he's he's always watching the skies. Now he's over in Newfoundland now, but he says he doesn't witness too much over that way. So
Tom, they're
yeah,
known for having some sightings too. But hmm, but it's mostly like where you're at and like in the middle part of Canada that gets a lot of, well, Vancouver, BC, of course, too, because they're off the coast, but Canada, like through the Midwest part, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, man, have a lot of activity reported.
wow. See, I seen one. I went to Jasper last year for Canada Day. It was our Canada's 150th birthday or something like that. So all the parks were free. So I just happened to go camping along the way, brought my tent and cruised around Jasper, Banff, then Jasper. But I got to Jasper and we weren't allowed to have fires in this campground because there was bears. We weren't allowed cooking. So we're just sitting there with little candles burning around and it had just started to rain a little bit. It was very beautiful. But as you're looking up to this mountaintop, I saw five lights in the sky and they were just right above the mountaintop. And it was not far from where I was. Well, it was, but it looked very close to me. But besides that point, I'm watching the sky above the mountaintop and I see five lights and they look like stars. So of course, I'm always watching the sky because I love seeing these things. And all of a sudden, they started moving into like different patterns. Like first, it was just like five lights in the sky. Then they would go straight line across, and then it would go up as a triangle. And then all of a sudden, one by one, they started just disappearing. Like you didn't see them fly away. They just lights out. That's it. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I was like, something's blessing me because I get to see all these awesome things in the sky. And it was just the most relaxing trip I've ever been on in a very long time.
Wow.
It
Yeah,
was amazing.
it is. It is. It's amazing, and looking up at the sky, and it's just all the things that I've seen, and I'm at the point now where it's like I realize what it is. What it is what it is, and I also realize too that with them, that some of this shit, a lot of this shit could be military, not what you're talking about and what I know the difference between. But there, I've seen people talk about this. I saw one time some kind of real high tech looking jet chasing like this starship type looking thing through the sky. And the starship thing, you couldn't catch it. It was gone. You know what I
It's
mean?
in your area.
Yeah, yeah. It was, yeah, there's a lot of training that goes on here. I'm right on you. I'm on the Oregon coast, and we're the deepest deep water coast between San Francisco and Seattle. So we have a lot of, there's Coast Guard here and the Air Force runs missions here, but there's also a lot of extraterrestrial activity. And there really was a hotbed of it from about 2011 till, well, till about 2016 or so. And there still is, but it just things that once you see certain things, you can never unsee them again. And either the government has really high tech holographs that they want to fuck with people with, or right in front of me, I looked out the window at 2 a.m. when I wanted to go to the bathroom. Right across the street, 150 feet in the air, maybe, was this thing stretched out a quarter of a mile. It just appeared. It was like lights at each end, or it was red at one end and green at one end, and lights like in the middle. And it was a quarter of a mile long, at least, which in your terms would be, I don't know, half a kilometer. It was long, and then it cloaked. I watched it like for 5 seconds, and it cloaked. And so what I know is that either, it's extraterrestrial totally, or what is the government up to doing? And either way, it's just people's awareness of it is not where it should be, but that's really not like my main focus anymore. There's a lot of other things to worry about too in the world and things of that nature. But yeah, it's amazing. I can't believe 5 hours north of Edmonton. That's got to get cold up there. You get
You never get used to the cold.
Fuck no, I don't think I'd ever go north of Edmonton. No way, man. I'm not built for it. Not that kind of cold. It gets cold in the Pacific Northwest, but man, I'm used to that ocean cold. Not where that kind of shit. No way. I think
it's a
I've been in like a foot of snow once, and that was it. And usually it's been 2 inches.
What? Are you serious? So how cold does it get what is the coldest you guys get?
Oh, we get in the winter. Fuck. See, this isn't going to work either because you guys go off the Celsius. Like we go off, we are too ignorant to update with the rest of the world. We go off the Fahrenheit system, like we don't do the metric system. So I couldn't tell.
Okay.
I know I couldn't tell it in a fucking like the other night on another show. Another Canadian, Raquel, was like, yeah, it was hot today. It was 29 degrees. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, stop. You're going to have to explain that to people listening. 29 degrees is not, in the United States, people think you were in the snow. You're right. That is fucking cold. I'm like 20. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it was 20. Shit, it was 29 degrees out there today. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's real hot. No, but I mean, we don't use that, so I wouldn't be able to. The only thing I know is zero to you guys is 32 degrees to us.
Oh my, okay.
And then I don't know how it makes up after that. I don't know how the rhythm goes as far as, well, then it's this, then it's obviously not that it's 1 degree is 33 degrees. I mean, I don't know how the ratio goes. I should learn it. I need to. America should. America should quit being lazy and adopt the metric system and all that. But that's and teach kids 2 languages. But that'll be the day. But look, it's been great, like talking and communicating with we've been friends on Facebook for a few years, and you are just kind of quiet and do your thing and just kind of chill. And I just thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give you a perspective of some of the things that you saw in Canada. And is there any other things that you wanted to mention or talk about? Feel free to.
Well, it was awesome having this conversation. It was like all over the place, but
That's
you
how we
know
do
what?
it.
Somebody might come up and say, "Hey, that's a good question," or good conversation. But it was great, Larry.
All those things will happen and are true. Yeah, it's all over the place. It was the perfect dictionary definition of the episode on the PEP, being all over the place. But no, really, it was. And you know what I mean? If it sparked one question in one person's mind or one thought, then the job was done. But really, I just wanted to, I have a thing, man. I have an open invitation to Canadians to come on the show. Definitely. Um, most Canadians. There are a few. Like I still need to interview one more again. I've interviewed him twice before. Michael Shea, I'll get to you, brother, I promise. But I just wanted to hear because Alberta and Alberta kind of fascinates me, and it always has been. I've always been a fan of Canada and a huge Canadian nut, and so I just wanted to. I didn't know though. I had no idea all this time though today though until we talked about the show that you were 5 fucking hours north of Edmonton. Edmonton is like it don't. I mean, that's like the largest major city in Canada that's that far up north. You get past Edmonton in 5 hours. Yeah, I figured you'd be at the Arctic Circle. So it taught me something new. I figured that 5 hours north of Edmonton and you'd be close to the Arctic Circle, or take a left to Greenland or right.
Well, believe me when I say this, Larry, we literally have a bridge called a bridge to nowhere.
Yes.
And that's where the road ends, basically.
And I think that, on that note, DeAnn, listen, I usually ask guests before the show closes and I give my spill. Do you have any, you don't really have any websites? Do you have, I mean, if anybody wants to know who you are, obviously now they know your name, they can find you on Facebook, on your timeline. So there now everybody knows you know. But do you have any websites or anything like that you wanted to promote, or any kind of group that you wanted to give a shout out to or anything?
Not right now. I belong to no one. I belong to everything.
Cool.
I'm on Facebook, and if anybody needs to know me, then you find me on Facebook.
Yes, exactly. Basically. And way the hell up north towards the Arctic Circle. So
by the bridge to nowhere. Yes.
That fucking bridge to nowhere. This is not the stairway to heaven, but the bridge to nowhere. Okay. With that, folks, I'll give you my quick spill. You can find out all my pages, groups, YouTube channels by going to Pleiadian Groups and Pages page, not the group. I own that group too, but I don't do anything with that group. Go to the page, Pleiadian Groups and Pages. Also on Facebook, or also on YouTube. You can find me also on What's Your Opinion show. Sometimes I'm on the Opinion the Facts with Kenny Jackson, where we get a little bit 3D raw politically. Okay. I also have a channel called Pleiadian Light Grid Project. We're on there basically. I do my channelings. I do humor. Some interviews, you know, most of it's pretty serious, but the humor on there is obvious if you run into it. If you run into the tobacco gods on there, don't freak out and take it seriously. We were just fucking with people. Yeah, or the series with my best friend, Mr. X, where we do a bunch of mock shows. We're just fucking with people, so don't worry about that. But most of the serious stuff is kept for Fleeting Express Productions, which is what this channel is. And thank you to everybody over the years who's made it. Over 1,800 people now. And I appreciate that. And thank you so very much. And with that, I'm going to give everybody a big cosmic dating game kiss. And with that, we're out.